In today's upcycling project we're sewing, turning a jacket into a bag without a pattern in only 4 simple steps.
It's
At least sort of simple. I'm calling this one Cut the Fluff, please.
Yes! Welcome back to the fashion run. Long story short, the idea is to make...
To clarify, this is just a puffer jacket with 5 pins, just to have an idea where we're going. An easy DIY puffer bag from an old puffer coat.
It's almost finished, basically.
Step 1. Depuff. I'm gonna turn the sleeves into the handles, but this puffer jacket is pretty, well, puffy, which would make the handles a little too thick to handle, even with my big shovels. I open the lining of the sleeve on the inside, neatly trying to seam rip the seam open. That is for the first 5 seconds. Oh, am I kidding? It's not gonna be visible, so let's just slice it open with the scissor and right along the seam. You're welcome. Now let's cut the fluff and finally reduce the puff by cutting the fluff. I only want to cut away half of the filling of the sleeve because I want the handles to keep a little bit of body yaddy. And please be super extra careful to not cut into the outer fabric nor in the top stitch.
Quilting kind of seams that go to the outside, so I don't want to damage those.
And if it's easier, you might be even able to tear the material carefully instead of cutting. If your desk looks like Santa Claus fell out of his sleigh, you probably did something right, sleigh. So when the entire half inside is thinned out, you can do a little grip test just to be sure. Remember, you have to be able to have 2 in your hand at the same time. If it's still too thick, you can usually, if you want to thin it out further, even peel layers of the white fluff without having to entirely remove it. But I'm just gonna close my lining on the sewing machine
so that things stay a little bit better into place later. Okay. I thought this nail polish does not match anything, but I just realized...
Close does not have to be perfect, gotta be hidden. So my jacket is folded on the middle back and the middle front, because I want the zipper of the jacket to be, you guessed it, the opening of the bag, and to attach the sleeves right at the hem, somehow officially baptizing them into step 2. Handles. I was just not entirely sure how, as I wanted to keep it very simple. All for you, mind you. So I thought maybe just sew the ends of the sleeves together like this first. And if that looks like a stupid idea to you, hello, would you mind leaving the professional? Damn, you're right. That is very clunky. Just in time, I come to my senses and decide to unhem the sleeves first. Make it easier to sew. Get a much nicer result, hopefully. So I'm just cutting the hem open on the inside, so that I can unfold it. And now that we're at it anyway, I'm gonna do the same for the entire hem of the body. Actually, I didn't want to do all this because I felt like I can just sew the ends together like that. But imagine how thick all the seams will get when you don't unhem it first. It will probably be quite annoying to sew and not looking that well.
2 very boring minutes later.
Shall we just cut it? Don't tell anybody, please. So voila, magic. Now everything is only half as thick, only this is what's the annoying part. We're dealing with the end of the zipper, so we gotta be a little creative on how we're gonna work around that. So I'll just go for the most blunt but most convenient option, which is just cut right along the facing so that I can unfold the hem. But then, technically, if you would close the sides now, the zipper would be too short. But rest assured, there is a solution that isn't all that exotic. We're just gonna chop a piece off the bottom, including this last hard bit of the zipper, because I don't want to really deal with that in my seam allowance later. Please make sure to close the zipper first. Now we can stick our sleeves in between the open edge, lining it up towards the side of the zipper, pinning them in place. Recommended to do that rather well, because it's a lot of layers. Make sure the former side seams are matching up well, and then you can close it all together in one stitch, theoretically, because it's a lot of layers.
Just then.
Look, I want to say almost, but it's like...
Oh my god!
Still open. Obviously, there's
a lot of
many
layers.
Why did I kind of have a feeling this was gonna happen? Guess I'll open it again. And the better option is probably to first close the sleeves separately, the ends of the sleeves together, and then I'm gonna add that seam in between the side seam, basically.
That's to take a one in between step instead of always having to go one step back.
Her who's talking. I'm not sure again if I am delusional, but I think it's gonna be really cool. So now we have this. Line up the shoulders, you fold it double like that. Just need to find a good way to get this hood off.
Step 3. How about cutting? Remove hood or collar.
Let's just cut the hood off.
No shit, Sherlock. Just chop it off. It might be a good idea to reduce some of the bulk by cutting away the white fluff just along the seam. And when your shoulder seams come loose, you can just simply stitch over it a couple of times with the sewing machine. Then I just decided to go for it and just close the whole neckline again, sewing the lining and the jacket together as a sort of learning from my mistakes, not letting it happen to miss a layer in the next step again. If you encounter some unwanted bush, you know what to do. Now, for the next step, I was going for it again. I know I'm so productive. Efficient, quick, handsome, cute, smart, rushing, maybe a little too much. So I just pinned the edges of the neckline together and basically closed it on the sewing machine without really not evaluating the actual shape that I create with this seam. Spoiler alert, it's not an amazing shape. Step 4. Finishing. Well, congratulations with making a big block. I swear, it's almost a bag. Lastly, we can finish the inside of the bag, and I only have one open side of the lining, which I'm only gonna close for about half the seam, so that we can still easily turn it inside out. Voila! Time for the birds of the bag. Turning it inside out again through the hole. I close what's left open by folding in the seam allowance, pinning them well on top of each other, and then closing it on the sewing machine. A little subtle pulling will help you to keep the folded edges lined up well while sewing.
Shit.
That didn't happen. But like, if it happens to you, just go over it again, like I'm demonstrating here, just for demonstration purposes. I mean, that actually ended up looking pretty good after all. Told you didn't happen. Look, lots of times I can appreciate a little raw edge here and there, but this one absolutely not. I'm trimming the rough parts off a little bit. Then I'll take the hood and improvise some semi-bias tape. That's not actually technically really on the bias at all. I just ripped a strip of fabric basically, and I want to use that to cover up this atrocious raw edge. Sewing it on the same way as bias tape though, so with the beginning and the end folded around the seam allowance, so that in the end we don't see any raw edge nowhere. Folding it over to the other side with the seam allowance folded in, and then just top stitching over it. Was it the most wonderful neatly sewn bias tape finishing that I ever made? Next question. But it's looking a lot better than without. Even burning a little bit of the old threads away, making sure there's nothing really hanging there, can make all the difference too. Lastly, a little demonstration of the little unflattering shape that I created with the neckline that I folded in, but there it is. It's not too bad, but in hindsight, maybe I will sew that bottom point out of it a little to make the whole shape of the bag more triangular. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you like this bag. Actually, I'm sort of obsessed, like always, with my own work. Welcome to the delusional designer. Please, if you liked the video, don't forget to like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. Do anything that helps for the algorithm, which is commenting, sharing, and everything. I want to thank my Patreon. Please check out my other 500 bag tutorials. I will link my bags playlist. This fits quite a lot, but if you weigh it down, drag down, I mean, it makes sense, but if you want to carry oranges in it, this is how it looks. It gets a little bit heavy, tired, and get out of work, you might want to wear it like this, you know? It's a bit more easy. Okay. Did I sell the bag well to you guys?